Hey everybody, welcome back. If you joined us at 9, I appreciate you coming back for our noon session. If this is your first time, you're just jumping on. My name is Jared Mathis, and I'm a member of our Career Center team here at Baylor University. Today is Career Day. We're talking about a lot of great things. This morning, we talked about job search strategies. This evening, we'll cover interviewing. And right now, I want to talk about resumes. Now, you can put comments under this video and we'll try to get to them over the course of this video. If I don't answer them on screen, know that someone from our Career Center will answer your question for you. All right, to kick it off, I think it's important to establish what a resume is. You might think that sounds a little silly, but it sort of grounds everything that we're going to talk about. So a resume is a collection of your strengths, your skills, your experiences that are relevant to the job at hand. That phrase, relevant to the job at hand, will come back into play in a little bit. Your resume is also an employer's first impression of who you are. I realize it's hard to capture you in all your intricacies on paper, but it is crucial that we pay attention to this document because that's what an employer has to go on. Now, most employers today use what's called an applicant tracking system. This is a software that allows them to sift through thousands of resumes at one time, looking at keywords, looking at connection to the job description, and all sorts of other factors. So your resume is going to be run through a computer before a human being ever sees it. That may be alarming, but knowing that, we can work with our resume and create it accordingly. It's really important that we pay attention to both the form of the resume and the content within the resume. So let's start with our form. Some of you may be thinking, I need to create a really creative resume, one that will stand out. I'm going to put my picture on there, I'm going to put my initials in some fun shape, I'll put a little phone icon next to my number, it'll be great and it'll look really unique. I love that creativity. I think that's awesome for you, but I want to set that creativity aside. And the reason we want to do that is because applicant tracking software systems can be confused by all of that. Oftentimes, it's the things that don't show up on our keyboard that confuse the system. That could be text boxes, shapes, pictures, columns. These systems aren't prepared for them. So we want to focus on what you can type. Maybe that's dashes or lines, obviously numbers and text. You may think this is really boring, Jared, and that's not how I roll. And I get that, but boring is effective in this case. Boring is readable. So that's what we want to focus on. Now, where do you start? You may think, I have this resume and it looks really pretty, and I don't know how to make it simple. The good news is, we've done the work for you. If you go to Handshake, Baylor.joinhandshake.com, and you go to our resources section, you can download a resume template. It's incredible that you can do this and just plug and play with your own information. We've worked with companies across a variety of industries. We've worked with applicant tracking systems to create this resume that works. So I encourage you to use it. Ultimately, what we want to focus on is content. So if your form's a little boring, if your form looks like other people's, that's okay. It will be readable and it will work in ATS software systems. So please go check that out and use that today. Let's dive into content because that really is the heart of the matter and where most questions lie. So if you do have questions, please shoot them to our team, comment there on Facebook, and we'll get right to them. The resume is made up of a few different sections, and we're going to break this time down by section. What I encourage everyone to do is to have a career profile section. You may not have one of these already, and it's very simple to add. The career profile is essentially 3 to 4 sentences where you get to talk about yourself and your strengths and your skills that are relevant to the job. Every job is a little different. So we may need to highlight certain skills in one application and certain skills in another. This is a great time to do that. I tell people all the time to think about it like a movie trailer. You're just getting the high points. You're just getting what is most relevant, what is most eye-catching, and then we move on to the rest of the resume. So 3 to 4 sentences, short and sweet, those skills that are most relevant to the job at hand. And then we move down the resume, and we get to education. This one seems pretty straightforward, and it is, but there are some things you can do to beef up this section. Relevant coursework is a great thing to include, especially if you're going into a job that doesn't necessarily align with your major. Right? Maybe you took some courses as electives that are more applicable. Let the company know. List them out right there. Maybe you were in the honors college, or you're in big honors program. Let us know that underneath your major or your minor. You can also put the title of a senior thesis or a master's thesis if you wrote that. And sometimes it's helpful to include a one-liner about the research that you have done. Now, this section oftentimes raises questions about GPA. I know we all love a 4.0, but it's not a reality for many of us. So what do we do? If you have a low GPA and you're not comfortable putting it there, I would look to see if the job requires that. If they don't put it. But if they do want a GPA, one thing that you can do is list your major GPA if that's higher. Now, we want to be honest about everything in our resume, so if you list your major GPA, let's put that it is our major GPA. So that's just a couple of things for that education section. There is some flexibility there, and if you need help on that, you'll see a lot of those options in our template. And then we get to the meat of the resume. It's our experience section. This is where I get a lot of questions. Jared, what can I include in this section? There are a lot of things. You can include paid work or internships, unpaid work or internships, maybe a volunteer experience, or student organization experience. Maybe you took the lead on a project for class or within your department. So you see, there are a lot of things that we can talk about. Our goal is to make them relevant to the job at hand. So if you don't have a lot of work experience, if you didn't have an internship this last summer, it's okay. We can work with whatever you have. So our goal in this section, within each of our roles or our opportunities, is to communicate your value as it relates to the job you're applying for. Every job, like I said, is going to be a little bit different. They're going to use different language, they're looking for different skills, and so we have to apply that creativity that we have with our form, we have to apply that to our content. Think, how can I talk about the things that I've done in a way that matters, in a way that connects to the job at hand? So what we're going to do, we're going to bullet point all of our experiences. So it's easy to read, it's easy to scan, and within those bullet points, we want to tell these micro stories. We want to set a little bit of context, and we want to talk about the task at hand. And we want to make sure that we show the results of that task. What does that look like? Well, maybe you were a sing chair here at Baylor University. And in that time, you created an act and performed on stage. You can list that, and that's true, but it may not be applicable to your next job. I doubt you'll be singing and dancing in your first job of college. That sounds really fun. Let me know if you find one. But what we can do is talk about those other things. Your leadership. Or you led 150 men or women in practice every night for 5 weeks to perform in front of thousands of people. You worked with contractors from costuming to backdrop. You managed a budget of $4,000. There are a lot of things you can talk about within that experience. So we want to get creative. We want to flesh out all the things you've done, because I would imagine that there are a lot of things we can talk about. Right? Maybe you worked for the University Writing Center. You had a job there throughout your time here at Baylor. We want to talk about how many people on average you worked with. Tell us what kind of problems they came in with and how you helped them. What was the result of your work with them? Maybe they got better grades, but maybe you helped people become better writers. Right? Maybe you helped people understand concepts and how to communicate them. There's a lot we can talk about within this experience section. And when we talk about these things, we want to do so concisely. We're going to dispense with our pronouns, and we're going to start with a strong action verb. Led, communicated, organized, managed. The list goes on and on. And we're going to get right to whatever we did. Right? This is where we need to edit as much as possible to get this down to really concise 1 to 2 lines max. We found that recruiters oftentimes don't spend more than a few seconds on these sections. So we want to make it easy for them to get what they need and to read through and find the valuable information. So keeping our bullet points short is important. We want to avoid hanging words on the second line. Honestly, it looks like you didn't edit. And when we have all that white space, that's valuable real estate that we can use as writers. So if you go to the second line and have a couple of words there, maybe think through how you can add some more detail or add some more numbers or context to flesh out that story. So this is a time to use our creativity. Sometimes people think, oh, this isn't valuable. This was a volunteer thing. Or, oh, no one will care about all universities seeing in the real world. And those things may be true, but I would push back and say that you make them valuable. You can make any experience valuable if you're willing to think critically and willing to explain your role within that experience. Now, if you need help, I encourage you to reach out to one of our career success professionals, one of the members of our team, because we can help you do some of that editing. I always tell students, get as much as you can on paper. Even if that's a dozen bullet points that are 3 lines long, we can always edit that down. The hardest part is just getting it out there. So I encourage you to do that today. Think back to all the things you were involved in. Think back to everything you've done and try to tell a complete story about all the aspects of that. How has it shaped you as a person? What did you gain? What were you able to do well because of who you are? Those are the things that we want in this experience section. And then we move on. We have this section at the end of most resumes called additional. And it's just a catch-all for all sorts of things. We may include certifications. We may include technical skills. If you know C++, or you can use Adobe Photoshop, or maybe you have some other software that you've used in past jobs or in free time, that's where we want to put it. Maybe you know a language. You can speak Spanish or French or American Sign Language. Let us know that, and let us know your proficiency. Even if that's not in the job application, what that does is create a more well-rounded application. And who knows, maybe the company is looking for that, they just didn't put it in the job application because they wanted as many applicants as possible. So I encourage you to include those things. It's also good to include things you were a part of. Maybe you didn't have a leadership role in a student organization, but you were a member. Let us know. It creates a fuller picture of who you are. Maybe the job has to do with travel or something international, and you went on some mission trips. Let's list those. Tell us that you spent a summer abroad. Tell us that you traveled to all of these different countries. That doesn't work in all job applications, but it may in that specific one. So this is a great way to tailor your application, to tailor your resume to specific jobs. Then any volunteer work you did, it's a great place to put that here in this additional section. You have a lot of flexibility in the resume. We do provide a template. We do give you some best practices, but ultimately it's up to you to understand who you are, what you've done, what you bring to the table, and what that company is looking for. Now, one of the best things you can do to prepare for this is to do your research. Not only should you know what the job entails, not only should you look at that language, but what's the language that this company uses on their website? What kind of experiences are they looking for? Or maybe you look at people that have worked for that organization and what they've done, and you say, oh, I have some similarities there that I can pull out. So it's really important that you do that heavy lifting on the front end, do your research, tailor that resume accordingly, and you will be more successful. I promise you that. So these are just some best practices. I know you're gonna have this video and you'll probably rewatch it dozens of times, and I thank you in advance for that. But if you don't want to watch this video again and you want a great place to find some resources, I encourage you to go to Handshake. Again, that's baylor.joinhandshake.com. If you're a Baylor student or a recent graduate, you have access to that by using your Bear ID and your password. And there in Handshake, we have a ton of incredible resources. Not only can you find that template, but you can also use a tool called Upkey. Upkey is a great way to build your resume for the first time. You can put in keywords, you can put in the jobs that you've done, and it helps you and directs you in creating this. It's almost like walking step by step through this process with a person. We also have a really cool program called JobScan, where you can copy and paste the job description to one side of the screen and upload your resume into the other. It scans the two of them and it looks for connections. This is a great way to tailor your application to the job at hand. It'll say, hey, Jared, they listed these skills in the job description. You didn't list them once. Or they listed these verbs and you didn't list these verbs. Maybe change up your language. Or their dates were listed in this way. You should think through the formatting of your dates. It's crazy. I love using it and I encourage you to as well. You'll find that with a few simple changes, you can increase your score and hopefully increase the likelihood that someone's going to look at your application. And then lastly, if you've used these systems, if you've downloaded our template, but you want that connection, that one-on-one personal development feedback, let us know. We're here to help you. We have a team of people that are here to help you and to work on your resumes. I work with students all the time from a variety of majors and help them think through what they've done in the past and how to communicate that well. Sometimes it's good to get a second pair of eyes on things. So I encourage you, shoot your resume our way, schedule an appointment with us so we can help you out. At this time, I'd love to field some questions. If you have any, let's jump into that. Our team is going to text me. It looks like I've got one already. Oh, these are good. How will my resume stand out if it's boring? It's a great question. Ultimately, it is your content. It's the things that you've done. It's the language that you use to tie it back to the job at hand. Where is the resume template that you talked about? Great question. If you log into Handshake, you can click in the top right corner, Career Center, and then Resources. From there, you simply go to the college that you graduated from, whether that's Arts and Sciences, the Hankamer School of Business, you name it, there's a template there for you. Is there a cost associated with JobScan, or is this something Baylor provides? That's a great question. Baylor provides all of this for you. I don't know what it would cost if you did it on your own, but I'm sure it's not cheap. And Baylor values you and your professional development enough to pay for it. Those are great questions. All right, here we go. Can you give me another example of tailoring a resume to a job? Absolutely. I think about my job. One of the things that I do is build relationships with faculty members, right? I teach a class, so I'm doing public speaking. I do this kind of stuff, and I do one-on-one appointments. I work with employers, do some recruiting, we schedule events. There's a lot that goes into it. So if you have an experience, you can talk about a specific aspect of that experience. You may think about talking about how you built relationships. Maybe you worked with new student programs, and you were a welcoming leader. Talk about how you built relationships with students and help them navigate a difficult time, jumping into college, transitioning from home to Baylor. Maybe you have some public speaking experience. Maybe you taught a class at your church. Talk about that. Talk about the way you put together curriculum for Sunday school. You may think that sounds silly, but that is what we're looking for when we look through applicants. All right, we got another one. How do I get into JobScan? Do I use my Baylor email? That's a great question. If you go to Handshake once again, we're going back to Handshake. If you go there and you're in the resources section, there is a hyperlink that says JobScan. If you click on it, it will take you there, it will give you some best practices, and you can use your Baylor email to get started there. For all these systems, we encourage you to use your Baylor email because that's how we provide access. So do that for JobScan, do that for Upkey, for Handshake, definitely. That's how you can get going. And they are rolling in. If I have volunteer experience, where should I put it? That's a great question. My first question to you would be, did you lead out in any way? If you felt like you had a leadership role, or maybe you didn't have a role but you took on a lot of responsibility, that could be a great thing to put in your experience section. If you just volunteered once a week, or maybe once a year with stepping out, I would include that in the additional. Because while it's good, it isn't as strong of an experience as if you were the leader of that thing. Here's another one. Are you available to talk through my resume? Me specifically? Yeah, absolutely. But our team is also available. We have over 20 people, and we're taking appointments throughout the summer. So even though you aren't here on campus because you're about to graduate, even though no one's on campus, we are meeting virtually over Zoom, over the phone, and over email. We love to provide some feedback. One thing I do with my students is have them send me their resume, and then I'll use the review feature in Microsoft Word to add comments, to add some suggestions, so they can see that right in the document. We can go back and forth that way. How do I set an appointment? That's a great question. Again, we're going back to Handshake. If you click the Career Center tab, that will take you to a page and you have the option to select appointment. You can schedule an appointment by selecting your college and then selecting the date and time of your choosing, and you'll see one of our many team members is available. Now, if for some reason no one's available, reach out to us via email. We'd love to talk to you and figure out when a good time to meet is. We're here for your success, so we're going to make that happen. If you want to meet with us, let's go. Let's do it. All right. Any more questions, y'all? Feel free to shoot them my way. We're all ears. We want to help you out. It could be something super specific. Or it could be broad that you think maybe applies to everyone. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank y'all so much for watching again. If you have any questions relating to resumes, cover letters, anything on the job hunt, we'd love to help you out. Shoot us an email or contact us on Handshake. Wish you all the best. Y'all have a great day.